Have you ever woken up one morning and felt like there was an invisible weight pressing down on your chest, even though nothing specific had happened? No one said anything. There wasn't some big event. And yet, something deep inside still made you feel tired, like you were living for someone else, not for yourself. And then, all day long, you try to smile, try to seem okay, try to play your role, whether it's at work, with your family, or in relationships that feel like they're slowly fading. You're afraid of being judged, afraid people will misunderstand you, afraid you won't be recognized. But have you ever stopped and asked, why am I living inside this invisible cage? Why does my peace depend on someone else's opinion of me? And the scariest part, Island, maybe you've been living like that for so long, you've forgotten who you really are. You no longer know what joy actually feels like, or whether the things you're doing are out of genuine happiness or just a desperate need to be accepted. The more we try to be enough, the further we drift from our own inner freedom. But what if I told you there's a way out? That there's a path, ancient yet timeless, that can bring you back to stillness, stability, and real happiness? For over 2,500 years, the Buddha's teachings have pointed us toward a profound truth. Suffering doesn't come from the world around us. It comes from how tightly we hold on, how much we cling, how we trap ourselves. And in today's video, I want to share with you 8 powerful Buddhist lessons, not just to help you release what's weighing you down inside, but to open the door to a deeper, freer, more fulfilling way to live. Let's begin. 1. Stop chasing happiness, live it now. There's something strange that many people experience. That feeling of waiting for happiness, like it's a train that never quite arrives. Some wait until they have more money. Some wait until their body changes, or until they finally buy the dream house. Others believe that once the person they love becomes kinder, more understanding, more present, then they'll be happy. And so they live year after year with their eyes on some perfect tomorrow that today never seems to become. But how many of those tomorrows actually arrive? And when they do, are they ever as satisfying as we imagined? Many people spend their whole lives in this quiet state of just a little more. A little more time, a little more luck, a little more love. And because they live in that constant lack, their hearts grow tense, their minds become dry, and life starts to feel like a never-ending chase. But Buddhism doesn't teach us to chase happiness. The Buddha never said, wait until you have everything you want, and then you'll find peace. In fact, he said the opposite. Peace doesn't come from anywhere else but from a mind grounded in the present moment. The present moment, it's this breath. It's the sunlight streaming through your window. It's the sound of birds in the morning, or even a quiet, rainy afternoon. True happiness has never been a destination. It's the awakening that happens in the middle of the most ordinary moment. The moment your mind stops running. People often think that only once life settles down, only once everything is in place, then they can relax and practice mindfulness, or smile with ease. But that's like waiting for the ocean to be completely still before going for a swim. Life is always moving. If you wait for perfect calm before you start to live, you may end up waiting your whole life. In an old sutra, the Buddha told a story about a man chasing a rainbow to find rare flowers at the spot where it touched the earth. He believed those flowers couldn't be found anywhere else. So day after day, he ran across meadows, through forests, but he never realized the most beautiful flowers were blooming right at his feet. If only he had stopped to look. That's how life is for many of us. We miss the miracles around us because our eyes are always fixed on the horizon and our minds never stop long enough to truly see. No one is to blame for seeking happiness, We all want peace. We all want to suffer less. But the problem isn't the search, it's that we forget to stop searching, even for a moment, to notice what's already here. That's why the Buddha emphasized mindfulness, not as a technique, but as a way of living. Mindfulness isn't about sitting with your eyes closed all day. It's about knowing you're alive, knowing you're breathing, noticing how your body feels, noticing what thoughts are floating through the mind. Mindfulness is drinking a glass of water, and truly knowing this is water. Not a memory, not a future wish, not something missing, but this, right here. Cool, real, nourishing. When someone lives in mindfulness, they stop being pulled around by hunger, by craving. They stop being ruled by that inner voice saying, "You're not enough yet." Because in that moment of presence, they realize, "I'm alive." And that's enough. And here's the beautiful thing. When the mind is anchored in the now, even if life hasn't changed, everything feels lighter, more spacious, more peaceful. Happiness doesn't come from everything being perfect. It comes from being present with things even when they're not. An older Buddhist once said something during a retreat. Back when I was younger, I used to think, once the house was built, the kids were grown and everything was in place, then I could finally live for myself. But now that I have gray hair, I realize living for myself isn't a phase. It's an attitude in every moment. Maybe that's something the young haven't yet learned, and the older ones sometimes forget. So, if today you're feeling tired, if you're still chasing something to make life feel complete, maybe pause. Stop running. Just sit. Feel your breath. Notice the sunlight through the curtain or the wind rustling through the trees outside. Because maybe, just maybe, in that simple, quiet moment, you'll remember something important. Happiness has never left you. It's just been waiting for you to come home. 2. You are the sky, not the clouds. Some days, the mind feels like a stormy sky. Thoughts come rushing in like heavy gray clouds. Sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes anger, and sometimes a sadness that shows up out of nowhere. Everything might seem fine in the morning, but by noon, your heart feels tangled all because of a careless comment, an unanswered message, or simply that quiet, nagging feeling of, "I'm not good enough." And just like that, the whole day gets hijacked by your mood. Work feels heavier. You get irritated easily. And when night falls, even though the body's tired, sleep won't come because the thoughts just keep spinning like a storm that refuses to end. Everyone's been through this at some point. And many start to believe, this is just how my mind works. I can't change it. They begin to identify with their thoughts. If they feel sad, they believe they are a sad person. If they think something negative, they believe they are a negative person. If a thought of failure arises, they see themselves as a failure. But if we look a little deeper, we might begin to see something different. The Buddha once taught, the mind is like open space, vast and limitless, but it's clouded by fleeting thoughts and illusions. Our mind isn't the stream of thoughts that float through it. The mind is the sky. Those thoughts are just clouds. And the beautiful thing about clouds is they always change. Today's anger might soften by tomorrow. This morning's worry might turn into laughter by afternoon. Thoughts come and go, just like clouds passing overhead. But the sky stays. Still, quiet, untouched. There's a space in every one of us deeper than emotion, quieter than thought, that is always present. The goal isn't to stop clouds from forming. It's simply to not forget the sky. At its heart, meditation isn't about fighting thoughts. It's about seeing them clearly, to recognize, I'm having this thought, but I am not this thought. That kind of awareness is gentle. It doesn't judge. It's like sitting beside a river, watching the water flow by. You don't jump in and try to stop it. You just sit, watch, let it pass. An old meditation teacher once said, "When your mind is stirred up like a lake in the wind, you can't see the bottom. But when the water is still, everything becomes clear." So the next time a difficult thought pulls you in, instead of blaming yourself or trying to push it away, try something different. Pause and watch it float by like a cloud in the sky. Maybe it's the thought, "I'm not good enough," or "No one really understands me," or "I've already failed." All of those are just clouds. And clouds, if you don't cling to them, will pass on their own. Peace doesn't come from never having thoughts. It comes from no longer believing you are your thoughts. It's like sitting in a cozy house while the rain pours outside. The storm might be loud, the wind might blow hard, but if the roof is strong, you stay dry. You're safe. You can just watch. In moments of deep mindfulness, people sometimes feel this shift. It's like the mind opens up, no longer constricted by every passing thought. Emotions may still arise, but they no longer control everything. Hurtful words, old memories, buried fears, they might still be there, but they no longer cause you to lose yourself. And this shift doesn't come from trying to be strong. It comes from understanding, from knowing that the mind is so much more spacious than the thoughts that pass through it. Just like the sky doesn't disappear during a storm, the calm space within you never leaves. Even when the clouds are dark, even when the winds howl, the sky is still there, waiting for the storm to pass and for the blue to return. And here's the best part. You don't have to be a monk or a master to feel this. Anyone can reconnect with that sky-like mind if they just pause, observe, and stop believing that every thought must be true. So the next time your mind feels chaotic, take a slow, deep breath, exhale gently, and ask yourself, is this just a thought, or have I started turning it into who I am? That moment of seeing clearly, that's the beginning of freedom. Because, in truth, we don't suffer because we have thoughts. We suffer because we believe we are those thoughts. 3. Choose compassion over control. Some relationships in life leave us exhausted, not because we've stopped loving, but because we love so much that we try to hold on too tightly. The more we care, the more we want the other person to understand us, to change, to be who we hope they'll become. And the more we try to control, the less peace we feel inside. Many people live in a constant state of worry. Worried about work not going well. Worried their loved ones aren't doing things the right way. Worried their children are making the wrong choices. And out of fear of losing what they care about, they try to manage everything, every word, every action, every outcome. But over time, a painful truth begins to reveal itself. The tighter we hold on, the more strained the relationship becomes. The more we try to control, the further people pull away. And in the process, we ourselves can hardly breathe. Because control, at its core, isn't a sign of strength. It's a symptom of fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not being enough. Fear that everything will fall apart if we don't keep a tight grip on it all. In one ancient Buddhist story, the Buddha told of a man trying to scoop up river water with his bare hands, trying to stop the flow. He couldn't understand why the water kept slipping through his fingers, and the harder he tried to hold it, the faster it seemed to run. Only when he paused, opened his hand, and let the water flow naturally, did he feel the coolness of the river. No longer a struggle, just a gentle, peaceful touch. Life is like that. It can't be held together through force. Love doesn't thrive in control. And happiness doesn't grow in the tension of fear. Buddhism offers a different path, not control, but compassion. Not the kind of soft compassion that gives up, but the wise compassion that sees clearly and accepts deeply. Compassion doesn't mean letting everything slide. It means looking into someone's eyes and recognizing the pain they haven't said aloud. It means looking inward and seeing the tender parts of ourselves we've never allowed to be embraced. A mother may love her child so much that she tries to control every choice they make. But one day, she may come to realize what her child needs is not a perfect life, but a heart that listens. A spouse might want their partner to change to match their hopes. But over time, they may discover that real love means letting the other be themselves, even if that self is still growing. And most importantly, compassion needs to be extended inward too. Because sometimes we are harsher on ourselves than on anyone else. Demanding perfection, trying to be strong all the time, expecting ourselves to control every emotion. But the Buddha taught, to conquer thousands in battle is nothing compared to conquering yourself. And that victory doesn't come from suppressing feelings, it comes from seeing them clearly and holding them with wisdom. Compassion is the softness that comes from deep understanding. It's knowing how to let go while still loving, how to stay silent without becoming cold, how to loosen your grip yet keep your heart warm. At a Dharma talk in a monastery near San Diego, an elderly woman once asked, "Teacher, I don't know how to let go of my son. He's chosen a very different path. I don't agree. I'm scared. I'm heartbroken. But the more I try to stop him, the more he pulls away from me." The teacher paused for a moment and gently replied, "You don't need to let go of your son. Just let go of the idea that he has to be exactly who you want him to be. When you do that, you can still hold him, talk to him, and love him without the weight of trying to change him." The whole room went silent, because everyone there had at some point strained themselves in the same way, trying to hold on, to fix, to protect something or someone. But true strength isn't found in the clenched fist. It's found in the open heart. Compassion is the doorway to inner freedom, not because it changes others, but because it frees us from the burden of fear and unrealistic expectations. And when the urge to control fades, we finally begin to live fully in our relationships with others, with life, and with ourselves. When the mind begins to soften, when it no longer tightens in fear, we gain the quiet space to see clearly. So much of our suffering isn't caused by the situation itself, but by the subtle clinging within us. So here's a gentle question to carry forward. What are you still holding on to without realizing it? Let's explore that together in the next part. 4. Returning to inner stillness. Have you ever felt like you're living in noise even when everything around you seems quiet? Not just the noise of traffic, work, news, or your phone buzzing with notifications, but the noise inside your own mind. It's the lingering worries from yesterday, the plans for tomorrow that won't leave you alone, the quiet comparisons when you see someone else doing better, the pressure to do more, be more, just to keep up. In today's world, being busy is worn like a badge of honor. The busier someone is, the more important they seem. But when you look closely at those worn-out hearts, always running and never resting, you realize what so many of us are truly craving is stillness. Not just silence in the room, but a deep stillness inside. A quiet that doesn't depend on your surroundings, but comes from an inner steadiness. At a Dharma talk many years ago, someone asked a monk, "How can we live peacefully in a world that's always noisy, chaotic, and constantly changing?" The monk smiled and said, "If you can't make the world quieter, then train yourself not to be swept away by the noise." It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to practice. Because often, the loudest noise isn't outside. It's inside a mind that's never been taught to rest. Stillness in Buddhism doesn't mean doing nothing. It's not about escaping life or giving up responsibility. It's about showing up, fully working, speaking, feeling, but not being carried away by it all. Not being shaken by praise or blame. Not being lost in success or failure. It's walking without being rushed on the inside. It's sitting quietly without needing to prove anything. There's an old saying, only in stillness can we observe. Only by observing can we understand. Only by understanding can we truly love. If the mind isn't still, it reacts. It jumps to conclusions. It hears one sentence and feels wounded. But when we're calm, we pause. We truly listen. And in that pause, wisdom begins to grow. Stillness is the soil where wisdom takes root. Without it, understanding is just memorizing words. Without it, compassion can't grow because the mind is too busy reacting. There's a story in the scriptures about a king who asked the Buddha, "Lord, how can I rule my kingdom in peace with so much conflict and noise around me?" The Buddha didn't answer right away. He simply pointed to the morning sky, where birds were flying in silence. Then he said, "When your mind is still like a quiet lake, no wind can stir the water. When your mind is clear, your actions will be wise. Your words will be kind, and your people will feel that." Stillness doesn't create distance between people. In fact, it's what allows true presence to happen. A still-hearted person can sit beside someone in pain without saying a word and still bring comfort. They don't interrupt. They don't overreact. They don't need to prove they're right. Because inside, they're no longer driven by the urge to be more than someone else. In our modern lives, perhaps the most precious luxury isn't money or time, but a moment of true stillness. A morning without rushing to check your phone. An afternoon sitting quietly, listening to leaves fall. A moment when you're not chasing anyone or anything. Just simply being with yourself. From that stillness, you begin to see more clearly. Not just the world around you, but your own heart. You begin to notice what you've been clinging to. The silent fears you haven't named. The expectations you didn't even know you had. And as you begin to see, you begin to let go. As you let go, the weight begins to lift. You begin to breathe. No one else can give you stillness. It can't be bought or borrowed. It must be found within one breath, one step at a time. And once you touch even a little of that inner stillness, you realize you don't need to travel far to find peace. You don't need anyone to fully understand you before you feel whole. Sometimes, one quiet moment with yourself is more than enough. 5. Let go of the rope that's hurting you. Some of the deepest pain in life doesn't come from what happened. It comes from not letting go. A sentence someone said years ago. A relationship that ended long ago but still lingers in your heart. A hope that was never fulfilled, yet still pulls at your chest. It's not that these things still exist, it's that we're still holding on in our minds. It's like gripping a rope tightly. At first we hold on because we believe it's the way to protect something, love, safety, control. But the longer we hold, the more it hurts. The rope digs into our skin, it bleeds. And still, we don't let go. Because we think letting go means failure, means giving up, means losing everything. But in the Buddhist teachings, letting go is not surrender. Letting go is wisdom in action. It's realizing that the pain isn't from the rope, it's from the way we're holding it. A student once asked the Buddha, "Master, why is it that the tighter I cling to the past, the more I suffer?" The Buddha smiled. He picked up a handful of sand and squeezed it in his fist. "What do you see?" he asked. The student replied, "It hurts, and the sand is slipping away." The Buddha said, "Because you're holding it too tightly. Now what if you opened your hand? The sand would still be there, and it wouldn't hurt." That's the truth. There are memories, people, and old dreams that no longer belong to our current path. But because we once loved, once believed, once gave everything, we hesitate to release them. And we end up imprisoning ourselves in invisible suffering. A prison where we are both the guard and the prisoner. So the question is, what rope in your life is hurting you, yet you're still holding on? Maybe it's the perfect image you expect of yourself. Maybe it's a loved one who's changed, but you wish they were the same. Maybe it's a broken promise, a silent fear, or a wound that's never healed. And strangely, the more we cling, the weaker we feel. The tighter we grip, the more powerless we become. The more we try to hold on, the heavier our heart grows. But then, there comes a moment, maybe in the stillness of an afternoon, maybe in the quiet sigh of exhaustion, when you suddenly see life didn't force this pain on you. You just haven't allowed yourself to let go. And in that moment, when you begin to open your hand, healing begins. Letting go doesn't mean you no longer care. It means you care in a lighter way. It means not turning love into a chain, not letting expectations turn into burdens. A heart that stays whole isn't one that's never broken. It's one that knows how to mend. And nothing heals quite like letting go with understanding. The Buddha once said, "This world is impermanent. Everything comes and goes. To let go at the right time is the mark of wisdom." The longer we live, the more we understand. What's truly meant for us will stay even without effort. And what's no longer ours will leave, no matter how tightly we cling. Freedom doesn't come from having everything perfect. It comes from releasing the things that weigh us down. That's when the heart can breathe. That's when life opens up. That's when we make space for what's next. And once we let go of the rope that's been hurting us, we finally touch something deeper. A calm presence in the here and now, no longer pulled by the past, no longer controlled by future hopes. Just a still, spacious mind, clear and steady, ready to move forward without the old baggage dragging behind. 6. Don't live for other people's approval. There's a kind of exhaustion that's hard to describe. It's not from lack of sleep. It's not from working too hard. It's from constantly trying to please everyone. From a young age, we learn to read people's expressions, when to smile, when to stay silent, when to hide our feelings just to avoid being judged. We grow up in a world where praise feels like a reward, and criticism feels like a wound that takes forever to heal. So we start living by all the shoulds and have-tos, instead of just being honest with who we are. Some people spend their entire lives playing a role, the role of the good child, the friendly coworker, the always positive, always kind person, even when inside they're falling apart. And the saddest part? In the process of trying to be accepted, to be liked, they forget to ask the most important question: what is the truth inside me really asking for? The Buddha once said, "You are your own island, your own refuge. No one else can walk that path for you." That teaching sounds simple, but the older you get, the more you realize its weight and its freedom. Because no one else can fully understand the path you're walking. No one else can live the feelings you carry. And no one can give you real worth unless you've stopped and asked yourself, am I being true to who I really am? There's an old story in the Buddhist texts where a student asked the Buddha, "Master, if I do what's right but people disagree, should I keep going?" The Buddha smiled, pointed to a lotus blooming by the water, and said, "That lotus doesn't ask the water for permission to bloom. It blooms because it's a lotus. You too, if you know something is right, live like the lotus. Quietly, steadily, not needing approval to keep blooming." Now, let's be honest. Not caring at all about others? That's hard. But living in a way where your joy or your sadness depends entirely on others' opinions? That's even harder. Because one day, people love you for something, and the next, they might criticize you for the exact same thing. People's views change. Emotions change. Standards change. If you keep chasing approval, your heart becomes like a boat lost at sea, no anchor. So the real questions are, is your silence betraying yourself? Is that smile hiding something you're not ready to admit? And in trying to please someone else, are you slowly walking away from your own light? If the answer is yes, then maybe it's time to pause. Not to rebel, not to fight, but to turn inward and ask, how do I really want to live? Living authentically doesn't mean being rude or careless. It means being quiet enough to know when to speak and when to stay silent. Strong enough to say no without guilt. Clear enough about who you are so you don't need to explain everything to everyone. Because the truth is, not everyone will understand your journey, and they don't have to. Your only job is to not betray yourself. Not even in the smallest ways. Like the lotus blooming in stillness. Not louder because of praise. Not withered because of criticism. It blooms because that's its nature. And those who live like that find peace. There was once an elder Buddhist practitioner who said during a Dharma talk, "These days, I don't need anyone to understand me. I just need to understand myself." It sounds simple, but it comes from a long road, one that's walked through many wounds from seeking approval. May each of us at some point in life have the courage to stand by ourselves, to not need applause to feel worthy, because true value doesn't live in someone else's praise. It lives in your own quiet peace, when you're finally at home with who you are. 7. Embracing the beauty of impermanence. There's a truth we all know, but few of us truly accept. Nothing in this life lasts forever. Everything changes. And eventually, everything must go. That relationship that once lit up your heart, the dream house you worked so hard to finally buy, the body that was once young, energetic, now slowing down. Even emotions, passionate in the morning, faded by night. Deep down, there's a part of us that wants to resist that truth. We cling to what's familiar. We try to hold on to the person we love, the feelings we used to have, the image of ourselves we once felt proud of. But when everything starts to shift just as it's meant to, we feel lost, shaken, sometimes even hollow inside. Yet the Buddha didn't see impermanence as something negative. In fact, he taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When this is seen with wisdom, one becomes free from suffering. It's not the fact that things don't last that makes us suffer. It's our wish for them to last, even though life, by its very nature, is always changing. There's an old story about a powerful king who once asked a wise man, "Give me a short sentence that will make me happy when I'm sad and humble when I'm proud." The wise man carved just 4 words. "This too shall pass." 4 simple words that carry the deep wisdom of life. No pain lasts forever, and no happiness stays frozen in time. Everything comes and goes on its own rhythm. And once we see that clearly, the heart begins to feel lighter. Impermanence might sound scary at first, but strangely enough, it's also what makes healing possible. Because of impermanence, wounds can eventually heal. The one who hurt you might grow or go away. Even the darkest days eventually pass. If nothing ever changed, pain would last forever. Without impermanence, there would be no space for healing, no room for fresh beginnings, no sunrise after the night. So to understand impermanence isn't to be pessimistic. It's actually the beginning of real freedom. And maybe more than anything, when we realize that everything changes, we start to truly cherish what we have while we still have it. A quiet dinner with family, a warm hug, a simple blue sky and a gentle breeze, even a moment of stillness without rush or noise. Gratitude blooms when we know it won't last forever. Like someone leaving their hometown, suddenly seeing the same streets with new eyes. Or someone recovering from months in a hospital taking their first steps again, not taking it for granted anymore. Everything truly precious in life is hidden inside impermanence. Buddhism doesn't ask us to deny our sadness when we lose something. It teaches us to see clearly. Sadness is not wrong, but it's not the whole story. Because every loss, if seen with mindfulness, carries a lesson about love, about letting go, about being alive. Someone once asked, if everything changes, what can I hold on to? And the answer is, you don't need to hold on to anything. Because everything changes, and that's okay. Just live fully right here, right now. This present moment is all we ever truly have. And because it's fleeting, it's sacred, like a flower that blooms and then fades. Precisely because it won't bloom forever, we lean in a little closer, breathe in its fragrance more deeply, and give thanks for that short, beautiful moment. To embrace impermanence is to learn how to live without gripping. To walk through life a little lighter. Not because you don't care, but because you care deeply enough not to possess. Not because you never feel sadness, but because you've realized sadness is just a passing cloud. And when your heart sees impermanence with clarity, you start to live differently. Less rushing, less forcing, less demanding that people stay the same, or punishing yourself for having changed. Just living deeper, more honestly, and with more gratitude. 8. True happiness doesn't come from being understood. It comes from understanding yourself. There's a deep longing in every human heart to be understood, truly seen, deeply felt, not just heard out of politeness, but really known the unspoken thoughts, the emotions too tangled for words, the wounds we silently carry. And so, many people spend a big part of their lives looking for someone who gets them. They enter relationships, hoping quietly, see me, hear me, feel what I'm hiding inside. And when they're not understood, even just a little, it can feel painfully lonely. But here's the hard truth. The more we crave to be understood by others, the more likely we are to feel let down. Not because people are heartless, but because they're not us. No one else has lived everything you've lived. No one else hears the conversations in your mind every night. No one knows the battles you've never put into words. And so, this longing to be understood becomes a hollow space, one that weighs heavy, one that deepens the very wounds we're hoping someone else will heal. But in the Buddhist teachings, there's another path. He didn't teach us to go out looking for someone to understand us. He said, turn inward, contemplate your own mind. Ask yourself, what am I thinking? What do I really want? What am I afraid of? Because the moment you begin to understand yourself, you stop needing someone else to do it for you. And strangely, when self-understanding begins, the loneliness starts to fade. Because one thing becomes clear. No one can ever understand you more deeply than you can. And no one else is responsible for doing it either. When you understand yourself, you begin to treat yourself with more kindness. You stop beating yourself up for every failure. You stop performing just to please others. You stop confusing the fear of abandonment with the need for love. You stop calling your softness weakness and instead see it as a deeply human part of you. A Zen teacher once said, "When the mind is calm, clarity shines. And when there is clarity, you can truly see yourself without needing someone else to point it out. Seeing yourself not to judge, not to fix, but just to see gently, slowly, with compassion. Self-understanding means knowing when your mind is anxious, but not letting it rule you. It means knowing when to rest and not feeling guilty about it. It means knowing that you don't have to be strong all the time because humans sway. That's our nature. And as you begin to understand yourself, you also begin to understand others. Why they don't always get you. Why they behave in ways that once hurt you. You begin to see everyone's being pulled by their own unhealed places. And suddenly, you don't need them to change for you to feel enough. Because happiness, real happiness, isn't in someone else's understanding. It's in your ability to understand yourself and smile at what you find. The truth is, so many people look okay on the outside but feel completely hollow inside. Not because they lack something, but because they've never stopped to ask, who am I really if I let go of roles, titles, and what others expect? One person who spent years in deep loneliness once said, "One day, I stopped waiting for someone to understand me. I started journaling, sitting with my emotions. At first, it was hard. But then I realized there were so many parts of me I'd never really seen. And the more I understood, the more I felt enough." That story isn't rare. It's a path anyone can walk if they have the courage to turn inward. Because real happiness doesn't come from someone fully understanding us. It comes from no longer waiting for that to happen, and instead choosing to understand ourselves fully, lovingly. Because in the end, the one person who walks with us for life isn't anyone else. It's us. If we don't understand ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to? And as the clouds inside begin to lift, as we stop living for approval, stop trying to control, stop clinging to the past, when we can sit still in a moving world with a calm and open heart, we begin to touch something very deep. Peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from turning inward, letting go, and living fully in the moment. Every teaching in today's video isn't something to memorize. It's a gentle reminder that no matter how complex life gets, the door back to inner freedom is always open. You just have to be willing to pause, to release, to look inward with honesty. The Buddha never gave us empty promises. He simply showed the way. And that path begins with one mindful breath, one moment of awareness, and a heart willing to open to truth. If anything in this video resonated with you, please don't keep it to yourself. Tap like and share this with someone who might be needing a quiet reminder today. Subscribe to Buddhism Seeds and let's grow a life together that's deeper, wiser, and more peaceful. And if you'd like, leave a comment below. Tell us what in this video made you pause, or what you're learning to let go of. Because maybe, just maybe, your words could be the seed that helps someone else awaken on a difficult day. Thank you for being here. May you walk gently through this world with an open heart and peaceful steps.